The Galactic Cadet Academy floated above the blue rings of the planet Valnor. From the outside, it looked like a crown of steel and glass turning slowly under the light of 3 suns. Inside, thousands of cadets from hundreds of species trained to become protectors of the Alliance. Every hall echoed with voices, footsteps, and the hum of learning machines. It was a place where pride and discipline ruled every corner. In the morning training hall, the air buzzed with noise. Cadets were gathered for the start of their Xena history lesson, a subject many found boring but necessary. Holographic charts covered the walls, showing timelines of great wars, lost empires, and ancient planets. In the center stood Commander Yal, a tall instructor with silver skin and calm eyes. He was respected by all and feared by those who liked to test rules. He raised a hand and said, "Cadets, today we speak of myths. Some of you have heard the name Earth." Laughter rose across the hall. Some cadets whispered among themselves, others chuckled loudly. For them, Earth was nothing more than a joke told by old scholars. A planet said to be so dangerous that even its animals could survive radiation storms. No one believed it ever existed. Commander Yao waited until the laughter faded. "Good. You know the legend. A place of chaos, storms, and fragile creatures who refuse to die. But let us be clear. There is no official record of a planet named Earth within Alliance archives. It is a tale meant to teach courage and foolishness." Then a voice spoke from the back of the hall, calm, clear, and firm. "I come from Earth." Every head turned toward the speaker. A young cadet stood straight, wearing the standard gray uniform. Her name tag read Mira. She had dark hair tied neatly behind her neck and steady brown eyes that showed no sign of fear. The room went silent for a heartbeat before laughter exploded again, louder this time. Some pointed at her. Others clapped sarcastically. One cadet from the front row shouted, "Maybe she thinks she was born in a myth," another added. "Next, she will say her people fought the stars with sticks." Mira said nothing. She kept her eyes on Commander Yal, waiting for him to speak. The instructor's expression was unreadable. He studied her for a long moment, then said quietly, "Cadet Myra, there is no record of such a planet." "There was," she replied. "Maybe your records forgot." "We did not." The hall went silent again. Even those who had mocked her felt a strange chill in her calm tone. But then the moment broke when someone at the back snorted with laughter. The tension faded into ridicule once more. Commander Yao raised his hand. "Enough. Let us return to the lesson." The students obeyed, though a few still whispered behind Mira's back. As the holographic map reappeared, something unusual happened. The emergency lights in the ceiling blinked once. Then the red alarms along the wall turned off. The Academy had hundreds of sensors that tested air pressure, temperature, and security levels every few seconds. They never went silent. Yet now, there was only the low hum of the power lines. Commander Yal noticed first. He frowned and tapped his wrist console. "Control, report system status." No answer came. The communication panel blinked with a quiet blue light, meaning silence. The class waited as Yal tried again. Still nothing. Then, as suddenly as it had stopped, the system returned to normal. The lights stabilized. The control channel came back alive. "Apologies, Commander," said a voice from the console. "We had a brief power flicker across all decks." "Everything is stable now," Yal nodded, though his eyes remained on Mira. She stood still, expression calm, as if nothing had happened. Later that day, Myra walked through the long corridor of Dorm Wing 3. The walls were silver, and the floor glowed softly with guiding lights. Some cadets avoided looking at her as she passed. Others whispered and laughed. She ignored them all. Inside her room, she sat on her bed and opened a small cube made of crystal metal. A holographic image appeared above it. It showed a blue-green planet surrounded by clouds and water. The continents glowed faintly under the sunlight. The sight made her chest tighten with quiet pride. She whispered to herself, "Home." Her roommate, a tall cadet named Liane, entered quietly. "They are still talking about you," she said. You made half the Academy laugh today. Oh. Mira smiled faintly. They always laugh before they understand. Leanne frowned. You really believe in Earth, don't you? I do not need to believe, Myra said softly. I remember. Leanne shook her head. But how? There is no map, no coordinate, no record. Even the old Alliance archives say the data was lost before the first expansion. Mira looked up. Do you believe the alarms outside your door? Leanne hesitated. Of course. They warn us when there is danger. I went silent today, Mira said. When I spoke, they stopped. Leanne stared at her. For a moment she wanted to laugh too, but something in Mira's steady tone made her stop. Maybe it was a coincidence. Maybe, Mira said. Or maybe the systems remember what their makers forgot. The next morning began with physical training. Cadets ran laps around the gravity track while the instructors monitored performance. Myra ran silently at the back, her pace steady and controlled. Some tried to challenge her, speeding up to mock her calm rhythm. By the fourth lap, they were panting while she remained composed. Her breathing stayed even, her steps precise. She didn't look strong, yet her endurance seemed endless. When they finished, Commander Yal approached. Cadet Mira, remain behind. The others left, whispering as they went. Yal stood before her, arms behind his back. I looked at your file. It says you were born on an unregistered colony world in the Perseus Rim. No mention of Earth. Mira nodded. I added the word myself. That is falsifying data, Yal said. You could be disciplined. I am not afraid, she said. Truth does not need permission. Yal studied her face carefully. He saw no arrogance there, only quiet certainty. Why would you claim this? To gain attention? To remind you, she said. Long ago, the stars were not ruled by the Alliance. Before you called your ships fleets, before your worlds had names, there was a small planet full of storms and fire. It taught us how to endure. You call it a myth. We call it home. The commander felt something stir inside him. A memory of an old story told by his mentor about the species who once defied the void. The species called human. He had dismissed it as a fable of courage. Yet standing before this girl, he felt the same unease that the legend described. A quiet power that did not shout or threaten, only existed. Before he could answer, a warning tone filled the air. The emergency alarms activated across the training field. Cadets ran for cover as red lights flashed. Yal turned toward the control station, shouting, "Report!" The technician's voice came through the speaker. Commander, it's a system error. No hazard detected. The sensors are confused. Yal's eyes darted toward Mira. She stood motionless, looking up at the flashing lights. Then, one by one, the alarms turned off. The red glow faded to normal white light. Silence filled the air. The technician spoke again. Correction, Commander. The alert canceled itself. No reason recorded. Cadets looked around nervously. Yal said nothing for several seconds. Finally, he ordered the group to resume their schedule. Mira walked away without speaking, her face calm as ever. That night, Yal sat alone in his office. He reviewed the system logs from both incidents, the classroom flicker, and the false alarm. The data made no sense. Both events had the same timestamp irregularity. Both times, the Academy's monitoring core registered a single unknown biological signature that overrode security protocols. It was labeled Pattern EO1. System flagged it as non-hostile and muted all alert functions. He ran a deep scan. The report came back incomplete, but one line caught his eye. Signal source. Human origin detected. He stared at the screen for a long time. The word felt ancient, like dust on a forgotten book. Human. The Alliance had no record of such a classification. Yet the system recognized it. Yal leaned back, his mind racing. He remembered Mira's calm voice, her unwavering eyes. Something about her presence carried weight far beyond her small figure. It was not arrogance, not power, but a kind of certainty that drew everything into stillness. He whispered to himself, if she is what I think she is, then the galaxy has been blind. Outside his window, the lights of Valnor shimmered. The Academy continued its rotation. unaware that within its walls stood a being from a world that no one believed existed. In her room, Mira watched the holographic image of Earth again. She remembered the roaring oceans, the smell of wet soil, and the warmth of sunlight that no artificial light could match. She remembered stories of storms that wiped out cities but never broke their people. She remembered the quiet strength in their history. Leanne entered quietly. "You are awake again," she said. "Can't you sleep?" Mira smiled faintly. Earth never slept when danger was near. Leanne sat beside her and looked at the hologram. If it was real, why did it vanish? Mira looked at her friend, her voice steady. It did not vanish. The galaxy stopped listening. Leon's eyes softened. And now? Now, Mira said, the alarms will learn silence again. Leon didn't understand the meaning, but she felt the weight of the words. She watched the soft glow of the blue planet above the crystal cube. For the first time, she wondered if the legends were not legends after all. The next day, the Academy's main systems reported another strange event. The next day began with the Academy's weekly medical inspection. Every cadet had to pass through a full-body scan, standard process to ensure that no one carried unknown genetic or cybernetic irregularities. The scanners were advanced machines built with crystal sensors that could detect even the smallest trace of hidden technology. The process was simple, quick, and always reliable. Until that morning, Commander Yal stood beside the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Wren, watching as the cadets lined up in the scanning chamber. Each cadet stepped inside the circular platform. The light passed over them, and their results appeared instantly on the monitor. No errors, no delays. When Myra's turn came, the air in the room changed. It felt colder, quieter, as if even the hum of the machines had lowered. Yal noticed it first. The scanning light flickered the moment Mira stepped onto the platform. The blue light that usually glowed steadily began to pulse unevenly. The display screen turned black. Dr. Wren frowned and tapped the console. Strange. The system never does this. He reset the controls and activated the scan again. The light came back on, spinning around Mira. She stood still, calm, hands by her sides. But halfway through, the light froze. The scanner made a sharp tone and shut down completely. A murmur went through the room. Cadets waiting in line began whispering to each other. Dr. Wren spoke into his communicator. "Control, we need a manual reboot. Scanner 3 is unresponsive." The voice that replied sounded nervous. "Rebooting now." "But sir, the system logs show a biological override signal. We've never seen that before." The lights across the chamber blinked once, then steadied. Yal stepped closer to Mira. "Cadet Mira, step back, please." She obeyed silently. The moment she stepped off the platform, the scanner came back online and displayed a normal ready signal. Dr. Wren stared at the screen in disbelief. He tried again. "Cadet Mira, please step forward once more." She did. Instantly, the system went black again. Yal's eyes narrowed. "Run the test on another scanner." They moved her to the next platform. The same result occurred, then another. Every time she entered the scanning circle, the machine stopped. When she left, they worked again. Dr. Wren turned to Yao, his voice low. "Commander, this is impossible." "It's as if her presence cancels the scan itself." Yao's gaze remained on Myra. "Is there any danger?" "None that I can detect," Wren replied. "But this level of system interference should not be possible for any biological life form." The room fell silent. Mira looked at them calmly. "You should not force machines to see what they were made to forget." Her words sent a chill through everyone listening. Yal dismissed the rest of the cadets, leaving only Mira and the staff inside. When they were alone, Yal crossed his arms. "Explain."
Amirai?
Mira shook her head gently. "You would not believe me if I told you." "Try me," Yal said firmly. Mira looked at the scanner, then at him. "Your machines recognize me. They are afraid to look deeper. The systems here were built on the same code your alliance took from Earth long ago. It remembers the origin of its makers. It remembers the command that told it to stay silent in our presence." Dr. Wren blinked in disbelief. "That is not possible." The alliance was formed after the fall of the first colonies. There is no record of such an origin. Records can be erased, Myra said softly. Memory cannot. Yal stood still, thinking of the logs he had seen the night before, the ones that identified her as a human signal. He wanted to question her more, but his communicator beeped urgently. Commander, said the voice of the operations officer, all scanners across the medical wing are now offline. The core system is reporting a total silent state. Define silent state, Yal demanded. The officer hesitated. It means all detection and alarm protocols have been suspended. The system believes the environment is under complete safety. Yal's eyes flicked toward Mira. She had not moved. She only watched them, quiet as ever. Later, Mira was escorted to the research division for further observation. It was not an arrest, at least. That was what they told her. The research chamber was bright. Filled with instruments that floated in magnetic fields, Dr. Wren and 2 engineers prepared new equipment, designed to analyze life signals without using the Academy's main grid. They wanted an isolated test. Yal stood behind the observation glass as Mira stepped inside. We will begin with basic resonance mapping, Wren said. No harm will come to you. I know, she answered calmly. Your machines will not hurt me. They are built by the children of our designs. The engineers exchanged uneasy glances. They activated the resonance generator. A soft ring of light surrounded her. For a few seconds, everything looked stable. Then the lights dimmed, and a deep hum filled the chamber. Every monitor went blank again. Wren slammed his hand on the emergency shutoff. Impossible. The generator just lost all power. The backup lights flickered on. Mira was standing in the center, unharmed, calm. The ring of light around her shimmered faintly, even though the machine was turned off. The energy field had taken its own form. She looked up toward the glass where Yal watched. You wanted to see truth, she said quietly. This is what it looks like. Yal's heart pounded. The hum faded slowly until there was only silence. He motioned for Wren to check the data, but the logs were empty. The system had recorded nothing, as if the event never occurred. Wren whispered. Every trace of data vanished. Commander, this is beyond technology. Yal nodded slowly. End the test. Release her. After the test, Yal met Myra in his office. The walls were lined with maps of star systems and medals from past campaigns. Yet now, the commander felt small before the cadet sitting quietly across from him. You understand this situation is complicated? Yal said. What happened today cannot be explained by science alone. I need to know what you are. I am human, she said simply. There are no humans, he said. At least not anymore. Mira tilted her head slightly. You mean you stopped calling them that? Words can vanish, but blood remembers. Yal leaned forward. If Earth was real, if your people truly existed, why did they disappear? Myra looked toward the window where the stars drifted beyond the glass. Because the galaxy feared them. They were too strong in spirit, too stubborn to obey the rules written by others. The Alliance erased them to control the story. But stories have a way of returning. Yal stared at her. The conviction in her voice was not arrogance. It was memory. Real memory. Before he could respond, the lights in the room flickered again. The alarm panels across the wall stayed dark. The control system emitted a single tone before shutting down entirely. Wren's voice came through the emergency speaker. Commander, the silence field is spreading. It's not limited to the medical wing anymore. It now covers the entire north sector of the Academy. Cause? Yal asked sharply. Wren's answer came after a pause. We think it is following Cadet Myra's movement. Yal looked at her. Are you doing this intentionally? She shook her head. No. The systems are remembering what they were made for. Long ago, your machines were built to protect life from destruction. They were told to sound alarms when danger was near. Now they feel something older than danger, something they were built to serve. And what is that? Yal asked. Origin, she replied. They sensed the return of their first voice. The words struck him like a current. He felt both awe and fear. The Academy's entire defense system was reacting to one person, not as an enemy. but as a signal of authority. That night, Yal held a private meeting with the Academy's senior staff. The holographic room flickered with faces of commanders from other sectors. They discussed the incident with urgency. Admiral Varen, an older officer with gray scales and sharp eyes, spoke first. Commander Yal, your report claims the alarms went silent in the presence of a single cadet. Are you certain this is not an equipment failure? Yal stood straight. We have tested every system. The silence only occurs when Cadet Myra is present. All other functions return to normal once she leaves the area. Varen frowned. That defies logic. What do you suggest we do? Yal hesitated. I suggest we listen to her. She claims to come from Earth. Zarum erupted in disbelief. Some laughed. Others shook their heads. One of the commanders said, Earth is a myth. A tale told by primitive settlers to explain their origins. There is no record of such a world. Alay's voice remained steady. That is what I thought too, until our machines began to agree with her. The meeting grew tense. The Admiral finally said, keep her under observation. No public announcement. If she is dangerous, she must be contained. Yal ended the call without responding. He turned to the dark window, lost in thought. In her dorm, Myra sat alone again. The small crystal cube still projected the image of the blue planet. She stared at it quietly until Leanne entered. Leanne whispered, they say you broke the scanners. Is that true? Mira smiled faintly. They broke themselves. Leanne sat beside her. Everyone is scared. They think you are hiding something. I am not hiding, Mira said softly. I am reminding. Leanne frowned. Reminding what? That silence does not always mean peace, she said. Sometimes it means recognition. Leanne did not understand, but she felt a strange respect rising inside her. Mira did not act superior, yet her presence made everything around her feel heavier. More important? Before leaving, Leanne asked if Earth was real, why return now? Mira looked at the hologram, her voice steady. Because the stars forgot where they came from. It is time they remember. The next week at the Galactic Cadet Academy brought the most challenging exercise of the term, the Survival Combat Simulation. Cadets were divided into teams and placed on a planet designed to test strategy, endurance, and teamwork. It was the culmination of their training so far. Meant to simulate extreme conditions and hostile threats, Myra's team was assigned to the northern sector, a region with dense forests, steep cliffs, and an atmosphere laced with toxic spores that required filtration masks. The team's leader, a cadet named Ravi, glanced nervously at Mira as they prepared to depart. You're calm, Ravi said. Do you even feel the danger? Mira adjusted her mask and looked at him steadily. Danger is only what you perceive. If you do not let fear control you, it becomes a challenge instead of a threat. The other cadets in the group muttered among themselves. They had heard stories about Mira, but seeing her in person made the stories feel real. Her presence carried weight. Even Ravi, usually confident, felt a flicker of uncertainty. The simulation began. Artificial drones appeared on the horizon, programmed to attack the cadets. The goal was simple. Survive until extraction. Complete the assigned objectives. Collect the data cores hidden throughout the terrain. At first, everything went normally. The cadets moved carefully, avoiding traps and engaging the drones with simulated weapons. Mira stayed in the middle of the formation, observing, analyzing, and occasionally guiding the team with quiet instructions. Then it happened. One of the drones, a large mechanical walker designed to fire simulated energy beams, stopped mid-step. Its sensors froze, and its glowing eyes blinked erratically. Its companions faltered and stopped moving as well. The weapon systems of every drone in the northern sector failed at once. Ravi shouted, "What is happening?" Mira stepped forward calmly. They cannot continue. The system does not recognize what it sees. The cadets stared in disbelief as the drones stood frozen, harmless. The AI monitoring team in the control tower scanned the simulation and reported repeated system failures. Every attempt to restart the drones remotely failed. Commander Yal, observing from the tower, leaned toward his assistant. They are being stopped by her presence again. The same effect as the scanners. The simulation continued in silence. Not a single weapon fired, not a single drone moved. The only sound was the wind through the artificial trees and the footsteps of the cadets. Mira guided the team through the terrain, avoiding natural hazards without using the weapons. Rocks shifted, rivers blocked paths, and the spores thickened, but she remained calm. Her team followed her instructions, and slowly they advanced toward the data cores. When they reached the first objective, the control tower sent an alert. Cadets, the system is failing across multiple sectors. Simulation integrity compromised. Yal turned to his assistant. It is as if she rewrites the rules of the exercise simply by moving through the environment. The team continued. Mira found the second data core hidden beneath a collapsed cliff. Using only logic and observation, she guided Ravi and the others to remove the obstacle safely. No tools failed. No mechanism resisted. By the time they reached the final objective, the other teams were struggling. Their drones had malfunctioned. Some cadets had lost masks, and panic had set in. Myra's team, however, moved steadily, quietly, with confidence born not from training alone, but from experience beyond the academy. At the extraction point, the exercise ended unexpectedly. All systems reported a complete freeze. Not a single weapon or drone could respond to commands. The instructors tried to cancel the simulation, but the controls would not obey. Commander Yal activated his communicator. Cadet Myra, report status. I am with my team, she said simply. We are ready for extraction. Silence persisted. Yal realized the alarm systems across the sector were also inactive. Normally, the red warning lights would flash if there were any malfunctions. Now, nothing moved. The machines had stopped and would not start again. Ren, observing the logs, whispered to Yal, "It is not a malfunction. It is recognition. The systems recognize her presence and refuse to act. They obey something older than us." Yal nodded slowly. We need to understand what that means. The extraction pod arrived and lifted the cadets to the tower. As they entered the control deck, Yal faced Myra. Cadet, explain this. You have not only passed the test, but you have made the entire simulation inactive. Mira shook her head. I did not act. The systems are doing what they were built to do. They recognize life and will not attack it when the signal of origin is present. Ravi stepped forward. Signal of origin? What does that mean? Myra looked at him calmly. The machines were built using the code of my people. They sense that I am part of the lineage that once created them. They cannot harm what they were made to protect. Ravi's eyes widened. Lineage? You mean humans? Yes, Mira said. Humans once lived among the stars. Our legacy is in the machines you call yours. They remember, even if you do not. Y'all considered this carefully. The Academy's systems had never failed before. Even in real emergencies, every alarm had sounded. Every weapon had responded. Yet now, in Mira's presence, they obeyed silently. The first time in centuries, the Academy's defenses recognized a human presence and paused. In the days following the simulation, the Academy's senior staff debated what to do. Some believed Mira was a threat, an anomaly that could compromise security. Others were afraid, sensing a force beyond their understanding. Yal called a private meeting with Mira. You do not seem to be afraid, said. Fear is only useful when danger exists, she replied. Your systems see me, and they know danger does not exist. That is why they remain silent. Yal leaned back in his chair. You speak as if the galaxy has forgotten us. Not forgotten, Mira said. It was hidden. But memory cannot be erased entirely. It waits for the right moment and the right presence. That is why the machines obey me. That is why they listen to me when no one else can. Ren entered quietly. Commander, the systems are now showing subtle changes in other sectors. Not a freeze this time, but adaptation. They are learning to recognize the signal of origin. Yal's expression hardened. The entire Academy is adapting to her presence. That is unprecedented. Mira nodded. It is recognition, not fear. The galaxy remembers the first creators of these machines. My people. Meanwhile, the cadets whispered about her. Some mocked her, but their laughter had changed. Now it carried uncertainty. How could a single cadet override entire systems? Others felt awe. Even the rowdiest cadets found themselves hesitating when Mira approached. One evening, Ravi approached her. Cadet Myra, the others. They are scared. They do not understand. Should we tell them the truth? Mira shook her head. Truth is not always safe. They will understand in time. For now, they must watch, learn, and survive. Ravi hesitated, then nodded. I understand. Mira smiled faintly. Do not try to lead them with your hands. Lead them with your actions. That is the way we survived before. The following day, another exercise began. This time, it was a test of strategy, not combat. Teams had to navigate a maze of shifting terrain and retrieve 3 hidden cores without being detected. Mira's team entered the field. As expected, every automated trap and sensor froze in her presence. The guards, made of synthetic intelligence, halted mid-motion. Her team moved through silently, guided by her calm voice. Every obstacle that challenged other cadets became simple for Mira. And her group, by the time the other teams reached their objectives, Mira's team had finished the challenge without firing a single weapon. Their success was undeniable. Yal observed from above. Her presence is rewriting the rules of engagement. Not by strength, but by recognition. At night, Mira returned to her dormitory. She placed her hand on the crystal cube projecting Earth. She whispered, They remember now. Slowly, but surely. Leanne entered quietly. Do you think they will ever understand fully? They will, Mira said. In time, the galaxy will learn what silence means. Recognition is stronger than fear. And when that happens, they will see humans not as myths, but as the legacy of survival. Leanne looked at her and nodded. For the first time, she understood that Mira was more than a cadet. She was a reminder, a living connection to a forgotten world. Outside, the stars twinkled, indifferent and constant. Yet within the academy, a quiet revolution was beginning. Machines, once silent observers, now recognized life in ways the cadets could not yet comprehend. And at the center of it all stood Mira, the human from Earth. Calm and unwavering. The alarms stayed silent, as they had from the first day. Not broken. Not asleep. Silent, because they knew something the rest of the galaxy had forgotten. Days passed after the simulation, and the strange effects of Mira's presence continued to spread through the academy. The cadets whispered about her in the corridors. Some avoided her, unsure what her presence meant. Sensing that she carried something far beyond their understanding, Commander Yal knew the answers would not come from observation alone. The academy had a hidden archive, a repository of knowledge restricted to senior officers. It contained records that the regular cadets were never allowed to see. Yal decided it was time to access the archive. The archive chamber was deep beneath the academy, its doors made of heavy alloy and protected by multiple biometric locks. Yal entered with Dr. Ren and a small security team. He activated the archive controls. The walls of the chamber shifted, revealing rows of glowing data crystals. Each crystal contained a world of information. This is where the Alliance kept all lost records, Yal said quietly. Most of the files were erased long ago, especially anything about Earth. The Council wanted to remove it from memory. Dr. Ren touched one of the crystals. Even the oldest logs are fragmented. Many contain only echoes of events, not full details, but some survive, barely readable. Yal activated a search protocol. He typed the name Earth into the terminal. The archive responded slowly, as if struggling to recall the information. Most results returned null. But one corrupted file remained. Title was simple. Planet, Earth, Status, Lost, Category, Death World. That cannot be correct. The humans were never considered dangerous enough for this classification. Yal ignored him and initiated the file. The crystal glowed and projected a holographic map of a blue-green planet. Continents appeared in faint light. Oceans shimmered, and clouds drifted above them. The projections were old and incomplete, but the shape was unmistakable. Mira had entered the chamber quietly. She walked toward the projection, her expression calm and serene. "I see them remembered something," she said softly. "The system still carries echoes of our presence." Yal turned to her. "You can read this?" "I can feel it," Mira said. "Not with your machines." "With the memory they still hold?" "They remember life as it should be, not as it was recorded. Your records are broken. They are shadows. But the essence remains." Yal looked at the projection. The file contained a brief history. Cities rising and falling. Wars fought between humans and cosmic threats, and the creation of advanced machines that could serve the Alliance. But the data was fragmented. Every time he tried to expand a log, the file froze or disappeared. Dr. Wren examined the system. "Commander, the archive is not corrupted by accident. These files were deliberately erased. Yet the system allows us to see part of them, as if it recognizes a valid presence accessing them. It is as if the archive itself is aware of Mira." Mira nodded. "It is aware. This is what I warned you about. Your machines and your records were built by humans. They remember what you forgot. That is why they obey me and stay silent. That is why the alarms never sounded in my presence." Yal stared at her. "If what you say is true, the entire Academy, all our systems, they recognize you as lineage," she said. "Not a commander, not a cadet. I'm part of the sequence that created these machines. The first humans taught them. They carry our code inside them. They obey instinctively," Wren whispered. "Commander, this is unprecedented. No system should ever recognize one person like this. It is beyond technology." Mira walked slowly along the rows of crystals. Her hand hovered above one of the archive terminals, and the projection of Earth shifted slightly, as if responding to her presence. "The galaxy erased us to control the narrative," she said. "But you cannot erase memory. Even here, it waits." Yal spoke quietly. "Then Earth was real. The humans existed." Mira nodded. "Yes, and some of us survived. That is why I am here." The chamber fell silent as the implication settled in. Yal realized the truth of what he had been witnessing. Mira's presence had altered every system she touched, the Academy's defenses, its archives. Even the simulations, they all recognized her as a living signal from the past. Later, the Academy held a brief council meeting with the senior officers. They discussed the strange events and Mira's abilities. Many were skeptical. Some feared her, seeing her presence as a potential threat. Yal spoke cautiously. "Cadet Mira has not harmed a single person," he said. "She does not control the machines with force. She simply exists, and the systems recognize her. The alarms, the archives, the simulations, they obey her because they remember their original purpose." One officer said, "Commander, are you suggesting that a cadet overrides every protocol in the Academy?" "That is impossible." Yal shook his head. "It is not impossible. It is recognition. The systems were built by humans. Mira carries their essence. That is why silence follows her, why the machines obey her, why the archives allow access that should be denied." Another officer asked, "And what of the other cadets? Should we allow her to continue training?" Yal replied, "We cannot ignore her. We must observe, learn, and prepare. She may be the key to recovering what we have lost." Mira returned to her dorm that evening. She touched the crystal cube, projecting Earth. The image shifted, showing cities, rivers, and mountains in soft light. She whispered, "The galaxy is beginning to remember." Her roommate Leanne entered quietly. "Do you think they will understand?" "They will," Mira said softly. "But not all at once. Recognition takes time. Machines obey instantly. Humans must learn patience." Leanne nodded, sensing the weight of Mira's words. "And what will happen when they do?" Mira's eyes reflected the holographic oceans. "Then they will see the truth. Humans were never a myth. We were a lesson, and now we are back." The next day, Yal returned to the archive chamber alone. The systems had stabilized, but faint traces of Mira's presence remained in the logs. It was subtle, like a soft pulse of energy flowing through the machines. He examined the oldest file again. The holographic map of Earth displayed coordinates and star charts that aligned with known planets in the galaxy. Yal traced the path with his hand. If this is real, then humanity's origin can be found. The legends were true. The chamber lights flickered. Mira's voice echoed softly. Somewhere the first humans left a signal. They built a path for those who would return. Yal felt a chill run through him. The silence of the alarms, the obedience of machines, the archive files, they all pointed to one undeniable fact. Humans had shaped the galaxy, left it behind, and now through Mira. Their legacy was waking. The senior instructors gathered to discuss the consequences of the discovery. They debated whether to make this public or keep it secret. Some argued for caution, fearing political repercussions. Others saw opportunity. Commander Yal spoke. We cannot hide this, not forever. Mira is proof that Earth existed, that humans survived. The systems obey her. The archives recognize her. That is evidence that cannot be erased. Dr. Wren added. If the rest of the galaxy realizes this, it will change everything. Alliances, technology, even belief systems. The myth of humans was meant to disappear. Now, it is returning. Yal nodded. Then we must prepare. Observation, study, and training. Myra must continue to learn. The galaxy is listening, whether it knows it or not. In her dorm, Mira reflected on the events. The archives had shown fragments of her past, her ancestors, and the humans who once built the machines she now influenced. She whispered to the hologram, "They are remembering." Slowly, but they will understand. Leanne watched her quietly. Do you think the humans will return fully? Mira smiled faintly. They never left. We were hidden. Now the galaxy will see that life cannot be erased by words or records. Recognition is stronger than any system. And humanity is built on recognition. The stars outside the window glimmered softly. The Academy remained unaware of how close it was to a new understanding. Every system, every alarm, every archive carried the memory of Earth. And in the center of it all, Mira stood as the living proof that humans had never been a myth. The silence in the training hall lasted longer than anyone expected. Every cadet, every officer, and even the Academy's AI core stood frozen, as if the world had stopped moving. The lights flickered softly, and the silver panels reflected Mira's calm face. The red scanning line that had glowed above her head dimmed and turned into a soft white beam. The voice of the AI repeated the same words again in a slow tone. Access granted. Clearance confirmed. Human origin detected. The commander could not speak at first. His voice, once sharp and sure, trembled slightly when he finally managed to ask, "State your name and origin for the record." Mira stood tall, her hands resting calmly behind her back. Her voice was steady, without pride or fear. "My name is Myra. I am from Earth." No one laughed this time. The cadets who had mocked her only stared in shock. For generations, Earth had been a legend told to amuse new recruits. It was said to be a world so dangerous that no intelligent life could survive there. The idea that someone had come from that planet felt impossible. Yet here she stood, breathing, calm and alive. The commander looked at the AI again, expecting it to correct itself, but the machine repeated, "Identity verified. No error detected." The commander gave a short nod and said quietly, "Cadet Mira, report to my office immediately." Mira followed without hesitation. The crowd parted to let her pass. The sound of her steps echoed through the silent hall. Even the air felt heavy with the weight of what had just happened. Inside the commander's office, the walls shimmered with holographic maps of known worlds. He turned off the display and faced her directly. His expression was serious but not unkind. "Do you understand what this means?" he asked. Mira nodded. "Yes, sir." He walked closer. "Every system in this academy, every piece of technology has been programmed to sound an alarm at even the mention of Earth. For centuries, the Union has declared Earth uninhabitable. How are you standing here?" She looked at him with calm eyes. "Earth changed. We learned to live with it. The The storms, the gravity, the heat, the cold. We adapted. That is what humans do. The commander crossed his arms. If that is true, then why return to a galaxy that forgot your people? Mira's voice softened. Because forgetting is worse than dying. If no one remembers who we were, then Earth truly becomes a myth. I came to remind you that humans are real. That Earth still breathes. The commander studied her for a long time. Finally, he said, the council will want to speak with you. Until then, you are restricted to the academy grounds. Yes, sir, she replied. When Mira left the office, she saw groups of cadets whispering in the corridors. Some avoided her gaze, while others looked at her with open curiosity. Lena, her roommate, ran to her and grabbed her arm. Mira, is it true? You're really from Earth? Mira smiled faintly. Yes, Lena. I told you once you wouldn't believe me. Lena shook her head. I still can't believe it. They always said no one survived there. Mira walked toward the training yard. People said many things about Earth. Most of them were wrong. That night, news spread across the entire academy. The AI had logged the event officially, and every cadet received the same notification. Human origin verified. Alarms silent. System stability intact. For the first time in recorded history, the word Earth was entered into the Union's database without triggering a warning. By morning, senior officers arrived from nearby sectors. They surrounded the academy like it was a historic site. Myra was called to an assembly before the council representatives. They wanted to see her, question her, and confirm what no one believed possible. The chamber was large and bright. The council members sat behind curved glass panels. Their voices echoed in the open room as one of them spoke first. Cadet Mira, you claim to be from Earth. Present evidence. Mira raised her hand. A small device on her wrist projected a symbol into the air. It was a rotating image of a blue and green planet. This is Earth as seen from orbit. The image was captured by our last orbital drone before communication failed. Another council member leaned forward. The last records show Earth was classified as lost due to atmospheric collapse. Mira nodded. That is true. But humans learned to survive even when the sky tried to destroy them. We built under the surface. We learned to grow food in caves. We learned to breathe air that others thought was poison. Earth never died. We simply stopped asking for help. The room was quiet. Every word she said carried weight. It was not pride that filled her tone, but a kind of quiet truth that demanded respect. One council member asked, if your people endured so much, why come back now? Mira looked up at them. Because the galaxy forgot the meaning of effort. Machines fight your wars. Drones explore your worlds. You forgot how to struggle, how to grow stronger through pain. Earth remembers. I came to remind you that comfort is not the same as strength. The council murmured among themselves. Her words were simple but sharp. The commander, standing nearby, watched her with growing respect. After the hearing, Mira was escorted to her quarters, but she was not treated like a prisoner. Instead, guards saluted her. Cadets she barely knew stood up when she passed. Whispers followed her wherever she went, but there was no laughter anymore. Days turned into weeks. The academy decided to test Mira's abilities in controlled experiments. They measured her endurance, strength, and reflexes. Every result broke the standard records. Where normal cadets tired after 2 hours, she lasted 6. Where others needed oxygen masks in high-pressure chambers, she stood without one. Her body had adapted beyond the known limits of physiology. Instructors asked how she trained. Mira replied, on Earth, every day was training. The ground itself was our teacher. Her calm humility earned her respect. Soon, the same cadets who had laughed at the myth of Earth now gathered around her for advice. She taught them simple techniques, ways to think under pressure, ways to stay calm when every system failed. She said machines can stop working. What matters is how you keep working. Her words began to spread through the academy. Instructors quoted her lessons in classes. The AI even added her methods into its training program. She never asked for fame or reward. She only wanted people to remember that strength was not built in ease. One evening, Lena sat beside her under the open sky dome. The stars above shimmered softly. "Do you ever miss your home?" Lena asked. Mira smiled. "Every day. The smell of rain, the sound of the wind. On Earth, even silence had a sound. But I am glad I came here." "Why?" "Because now they know we exist again." Lena looked up at the stars. "Do you think others will come from Earth too?" "Maybe not now," Mira said. "But someday they will. Humans always find a way." Weeks later, the council returned. They called Mira again. The leader spoke in a steady tone. "Cadet Myra, after long discussion, the council has decided to reopen contact protocols with Earth. A research team will be sent to verify your claim. You will lead them." Mira stood tall. "I will guide them. But remember this. Earth is not a place to conquer. It is a place to understand." The council nodded. "Then we will trust your guidance." That day, the Academy held a gathering to honor her. The same hall that once filled with laughter, now filled with silence and respect. The commander addressed the cadets. "Centuries of myths have ended today. The alarms that once warned us have stayed silent, because truth does not need fear. We welcome back the daughter of Earth." The cadets saluted as Myra walked forward. She accepted the silver badge of honor, but she said, "This belongs to my people. I am only one of them." Her words echoed through the hall. The AI's voice followed, calm and firm. Record updated. Earth acknowledged. Human status active. The crowd stood in silence, realizing they were witnessing history. That night, Mira looked out through the observatory glass at the blue star that marked Earth's region. For the first time in hundreds of years, a transmission beam was sent toward the lost planet. It carried one simple message: "Earth, this is the Galactic Academy. We hear you. Your daughter has returned." Mira watched the light fade into the distance. A quiet peace filled her heart. She whispered softly, "We are not myths anymore." The alarms that once screamed at the name of Earth remained silent. The galaxy had remembered. And from that day forward, every new cadet at the Academy learned about Earth not as a legend, but as the world that taught the stars what it meant to survive. End of Part 5.